Principal Sir, Dr. K. Venkata Murali Mohan Sir, Vice Principal, Dean, Academics, Dr. K. M.V. Madan Kumar Sir, and all heads of departments, welcome you to all the session. Welcome you to the session, sir. So now today's session speaker is Bala Prasad sir. So regarding today's speaker, PVK Harina sir will address the today's speaker. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Rajaram Garu. I'll introduce Mr. Bala Prasad Pedigari. He's a postgraduate from Usman University College of Engineering, and he has experience of over 22 years. His primary focus is to build future platforms and solutions, leveraging modern engineering principles and evolutionary engineering philosophy. He specializes in enterprise cloud architectures across cloud platforms such as AWS and Microsoft Azure, microservices, artificial intelligence, business analytics. He was instrumental in digital solution strategy and influenced over 200 million USD of business and drive thought leadership by driving mind share with customers. He is currently growth and transformation innovation leader, high-tech unit at Tata Consultancy Services. His other current active positions are: he is the chairman of Computer Society of India, Hyderabad chapter, secretary, Internet Society India, Hyderabad chapter, and many more. His past positions held was Vice Chairman, Computer Society of India, Open Group Certifying Authority, Board Member, and many more. And apart from this, he is associated as a Board of Studies member, CSE and Artificial Intelligence departments with Anurag University, Vardhaman College of Engineering, Nallamala Reddy College of Engineering, CBR College of Engineering, Sri Venkateshwara College of Engineering, Stanley College of Engineering and Technology for Women. His certification, some of his certifications are OpenCA Master Certified Architect, Microsoft Azure Certified Architect, and many more. His specialty certifications are Open Group Certified Master Architect, Level 2, and many more. So this is the brief profile of Mr. Bala Prasad. He's a very eminent speaker on the current topic. I request Mr. Bala Prasad to take over.
Okay, thank you. Please confirm if you are able to see my screen. I'm just sharing it right now. Okay.
Yeah, we're able to see. Perfect.
Excellent. Okay. And is my voice audible, clear?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So the next 90 minutes, I'm going to take you through some of the heart of thinking, which are the most important elements for the today's individuals who are really shaping up their careers in the IT world. These are considered critical thinking and design thinking are rated as #1 skills every individual in the organization need to carry, right from CEO to the developer. So before I get started, I just wanted to ask independently every one of you, when someone says, who is the best thinker you have come across? And when the word thinking comes, whose name comes to your mind? If you just try to ponder upon, just recollect that particular name and write it on a piece of a paper, or at least have it in your memory lane, that would be great. Because the word thinking, whenever it comes, the best thinker in the world, what we all admire to look at is we always talk about Chanakya. Chanakya, who has invented or brought in the concept of heart of thinking. Anvikshiki is a very good philosophy, the way you need to really think and go about it. And he's the mastermind behind the art of thinking, and he has really established the kind of a foundational constructs. What we are trying to envisage about the design thinking or the critical thinking is all about. I'm just going to briefly touch upon the next 15 minutes on the Anvikshiki and the related things. After that, we will get into the other elements of critical and design thinking. These are the important bases before we get into the subject. So when we really look into the Anvikshiki, that is a science of thinking which has been established, you need to see that it has been conceptualized based on three important elements: Traivarta, Dandaniti, what we calls. Trai, which is completely based on our Vedas, which we call it as a Rig Veda, Samaveda, Yajurveda. Varta, which is trying to conceptualize the entire economics at that point of time, where people raise money utilizing the agriculture, cattle raiding, and trade. So they are the primary activities at that point of time. And Dandaniti is based on the kind of a political science where they try to gauge the good and evil and try to drive the punishment based on the kind of a governing structures what they have established over the period of time. Trivada Dandaniti has been instrumental in driving the scientific philosophy behind the thinking one need to be aware of. And how do you normally practice a Anvikshiki? If I'm a person, how do I construct a art of thinking? Is it something possible to be developed? Yes, it is possible to be developed. But for that to have, you need to have three important practices to be constructed. One is you need to have an ability to gauge a good versus evil. This is a Vedic tradition, what people have adopted over the period of time. That is what the Trai, and it is completely based on of our Vedas. While second is about the Varta, based on the material gain or loss, how you try to make your decisions, where to invest, where not to invest. Even in the corporate world, it's all about the top line and bottom line, what we try to think about, how to make profit, how to increase the market share. So you try to make the decisions based on that. The third important thing, keeping the interest of the assets, keeping the interest of the resources, keeping the interest of the organization culture, keeping the interest of the science behind the politics, you try to define the good and bad policies. That is what the Dandaniti is all about. So when you continuously practice these three elements of thinking or the decisions under which you are trying to operate, your thinking culture improves and you will be able to make a bigger impact and construct three important benefits as part of the Anvikshiki. The three important elements each individual develop over the period of time is a thought, speech, and action. And the thought, speech, and action is a very important element as part of the heart of thinking. Thinking is a mind game, but the way you think and the clearer you think and unblock all the questions which are coming in your mind is very important. Second thing is related to the speech, the way you verbally communicate to others. The verbal communication plays an important role because you cannot communicate the same statement to all the kind of people. The way you communicate should be completely different. Let us say in the world of the corporate, if you are trying to talk about any kind of a benefits to the corporate stakeholders like CEO, CIO, CFO, you need to talk in their kind of a wavelength and in their world of the taxonomy of words like return on investment, total cost of ownership. So you need to speak the language they understand. So whenever you're saying to say, I want to do this particular project, stakeholders who are sponsoring your project, they say that, what would be my benefit? What will be a return on investment? What will be my total cost of ownership to manage and maintain this product? But if you're trying to talk with respect to the peer architects, the communication completely changes where you try to talk in terms of the design patterns. When you're communicating to your development team or the testing team or the operations team, you will be more coming into the level of implementation details and try to communicate the same about the product development and product adaptation. So there is a change in the communication model, and that gets constructed when you practice Anvikshiki Traivarta Dandaniti. The third important element is the action, the way you execute. It really perfects your activities, and that's what Anvikshiki helps you in constructing as a personality development as part of the heart of thinking. There are different types of thinking available today in the world. The both side thinking, where you try to think from the positive side and the negative side, so that you will be able to gauge what is good and what is bad. The alternate thinking, you try to come out with a multiple ideas to see that how does it really matter in the different constructs. The leadership thinking, which is trying to more focus on the visionary angle, what would be more beneficial from all the dimensions. Creative and innovative thinking is more focusing on how I can develop certain things, whatever the actions I perform, Will it be empathetic in nature? It takes human into the center of the problem and try to develop that. Lateral thinking, where you try to take the six hats thinking kind of a culture, where you try to wear different types of hat and try to understand the positive aspects, negative aspects, good, bad, everything, and you try to make the decisions. Spiritual thinking, keeping the lot of philosophical elements, you try to make a decisions on that front. So different types of thinkings have been emerged over the period of time, and each of this thinking culture can be developed better when you try to practice anvikshiki to the best of your knowledge. So continuous practice of Traivatha Dandaniti, continuously positioning yourself in that space is very, very important. Is it hard to do it? Are the people who have already done it? Yes, if you're really looking at it. One person which you may always think about is a thinking cricketer people always call Dhoni. MS Dhoni has been considered to be the thinking cricketer because so many cricketers have come and so many cricketers have captained India, but this person is the one who really does a contextual thinking. Why he is so successful is he was successful because in the event of the game, within the limited resources when it is available, you may not have the best of the batsmen with you, you may not have the best of the bowlers with you may not have the best of the fielders with you, but how you position themselves, how you can use their strengths, and how what kind of decisions you take at the moment is very, very important. Only possible when you really think and try to understand the impact of your decisions, how it would be. So there are decisions he has taken which favored India. There are decisions he has taken which has not favored. But the ability to make the decisions and convert those decisions in a positive dimension was important. And that is the reason he was considered to be a thinking cricketer, and he has made a significant impact in the way he has driven Indian cricket team. So likewise, there are many people, if you really look at it, many very best thinkers we admire to look at it. Some are like Mahatma Gandhi, who are the optimists in nature, who have always thought how thinking can drive the change. Action-oriented mentality, Mother Teresa, Jesus Christ, always suggested to be surrounded with the like-minded people so your thinking gets developed. And likewise, you see that Steve Jobs, who have really created the way of looking to develop the product, keeping the customer experience in mind. And that's where you see customer value can be more generated when creativity takes over the intelligence. Nelson Mandela and Einstein, uh, Martin Luther King. Likewise, so many people are there who have really taken this particular level of thinking to the next level. So this, when the best thinkers come together, they will drive the game change. So you see that many industries have been resulted in shaping up the market for the future. You take every industry, you see all the industries have started seeing the digital revolution, digital adaptation, and they were able to drive on the digital technology to the next level. People were able to take the best practices from one industry and replicate it to the other industry. That is possible because there is a people who are able to challenge the status quo and able to manage to make the change and disrupt that market. We have seen the transportation industry completely disrupted by Ola and Uber. We have seen the hospitality industry completely disrupted by the Airbnb. There are fashion industries which were disrupted. Food industry is disrupted by the Swiggy. So likewise, where people are not owning but getting the community of buyer and selling together, they were able to disrupt to a great level. We have seen the Netflix completely change the entire world. Earlier, probably 20 years ago, people used to get video cassettes or CDs to play in their VCDs or VCRs. But now everything is on demand. Everything is on the uh, over the top OTT platforms. That's all possible. People were able to change and shake up the market and disrupt the market with the help of the kind of a thinking what they carried. Why not do this? And they had a strong belief to do it. And these are all possible when you start thinking differently. These are the foundational constructs which I thought of telling you so that you have a view why this thinking culture is more important as important. So let us investigate and understand the two important elements. One is a critical thinking, then followed by design thinking. The first part, let us spend on the critical thinking. Critical thinking, when you're really looking at it, it is best defined as the ability of the thinkers to take charge of their own thinking. You don't get influenced by others. No matter whatever happens, you have your own way of looking at the things. You have your own way of challenging the things. You don't take the things as it is coming in. Let us say, for instance, today, as I say, uh, you see that there are multiple news which channels are broadcasting about the Ukraine event, where Russia is trying to occupy Ukraine. There are good aspects of it, people are broadcasting, bad aspects of it, people are broadcasting. But how many people really spending time to understand the truth behind the invasion, or why Russia invaded Ukraine? How many people really understood the reasons behind that? How many people really questioned? So there are people who get influenced because of the Facebook or social posts. There are people who get influenced because of the news channel feeds. There are people who get influenced because of the newspaper publication. But all these things are coming to you as a second source of information. But as an individual, you need to have a critical thinking to challenge the status quo, question it, and understand the truth behind it. And critical thinking is a way to help that. Say, for instance, if you want to simply look at it, you go into a dressing room and you try to take, or means you go for a shopping and to get into a dressing room when you are trying to wear the clothes, and you try to twist and twirl to see yourself into the mirror, deciding whether this particular dress suits or me not. That three-side mirror, what it is trying to provide is a different angles the way you look. Similarly, when you're trying to make the decisions, you need to see from the different angles and make the decisions in that favor. And the decisions when you're making, you understand the context behind that particular decisions. That's the only way you will be able to make a better decisions for the future. And as a leader, you need to ensure that you are covering all the bases before you make the decision. I just want to take a small episode. Probably it will take 2 minutes if you're all okay. Uh, I want you to see this picture. Just see this picture. Okay, let me take only 30 seconds, not even 2 minutes. Okay. I hope you all have taken a good look at it. Now, since you have taken a good look at it, I would like you to take a recall at it. How many of you can now really communicate to me that what was the picture which was there? Uh, say, for instance, what was the picture? If I was asking you, what was the picture, or what was the color, what was the name, and what was the color? How many people can really remember that? So basically, you need to study about your own thinking. Say, for instance, there was an owl. If I ask you, owl name was written in what color? Or winter was a word which was there. Which color it was written? Whether it is top or bottom. So when you try to look at that, you normally see the pictures. You normally try to absorb the pictures first. You try to absorb the words first, second. Then you look into the colors. But the combination of all these things are very, very important for you to understand the importance of the entire journey. So what I want to help you understand is, as part of this thinking culture, you need to know about how mind processes the information, and how you qualify that particular information, how do you interpret that particular information, how do you try to associate and learn from that information makes important. So if you typically go back to this, some people can form a story around this. I was having a lunch during my vacation, sitting at the east side of the room, watched a rainbow in a winter season, something of that story. If you construct, then you will be able to remember and recall that entire thing. The story aspect is very important, and it gets connected to the way you try to remember the things. That is one important method to recall everything. Second important method is understand the colors patterns, what kind of color patterns are there, and how you want to remember that color patterns. Third important pattern what you need to develop is, as part of the pattern development thinking, is the images. So you need to correlate the images, and you can also form the story. So one way, form the story using the words, form the story using the images, or connect both of them and form the story, so that you will be able to recall everything as much as possible. So the exercise which I wanted to take is, if you take a snapshot of this and do this exercise later also for 2 minutes, where you will be able to recall all the images you have seen, recall all the words you have seen, recall the color of all the images, recall color of each words. That way you can measure the thinking level and memory level of yourself. Now, the more important thing you also need to understand is, you also need to have the ability to understand uh, what should not be done. So basically, you should not assume that you are surrounded with the people who can think like you. So that there is always a situation that uh, people can come and say that, I thought you were my friend, I thought you loved me. So there is a kind of a dejection which can come in. So when you saw something which is unreasonable, you need to understand from the other point of view and look at it. Similarly, in the corporate world also, people come and keep on saying that, I didn't expect the delivery to happen like this. People come and say that your code was crappy and they haven't, we never expected you to deliver like this. So there are people who can come and talk negative about you, negative about your work, negative about the quality of your work. People who can also do not take the blame on themselves, people try to push on others. So such kind of a verbal attacks can come, such kind of a blame attacks can come on you, but you need to deal with that with a proper thinking and proper approaches. So what is that leading to us? Because we are not finding the right way of looking at the things. We are not finding the truth behind the things. We are rather jumping to the conclusions. So basically, you are looking at one point of statement and jumping into conclusions. You are not really looking at the both sides of the coin. You are not you're becoming, your expectations are too high, and it is leading to the unrealistic way of looking at the things. And you're not very clear the way you are trying to ask the questions. They are very vague in nature, very not subjective and qualitative in nature, but very quantitative in nature. So such kind of unreasonable conclusions can lead to such things. So basically, the statements which I mentioned, or the phrases which I mentioned, every one of us might have undergone one or the other time such kind of a scenarios. You might be egocentrically thinking, you are thinking only from the one side but not from the other side, other point of view. You are thinking in a very narrow mind. All these things are possible in one's life. Now when you do deal with such kind of a scenarios, the only thing which can bail you out is a critical thinking. Today if I'm asking, what is the national deficit? The national deficit is the critical thinking. People have forgotten completely to apply the critical thinking to the best of their knowledge. And that is really leading. And in fact, one of the surveys stated that critical thinking has been identified as one of the most important skills needed for job success. Tomorrow, if your supervisor comes and say, I need a bulk of this work to be done, you know pretty well it cannot be done. Then how do you support that it cannot be done? You blindly accept the work, what comes to you? No. You need to take the work, estimate with the set of activities, and tell, for each of these activities, this is the total amount of effort which will take. Hence, whatever you are trying to give is very unrealistic and it cannot be done. But as an alternate method, I would suggest that you need to employ 3 more resources to optimize these efforts to a great level. If you try to put down that kind of a statement with the facts and help them understand the reason behind it, people will start accepting it. But people don't do those things. They are trying to just blindly accept rather than applying the critical thinking. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the session also, critical thinking is also rated as number 1 skill of increasing importance for the next 5 to 10 years. In fact, I would say continuous. And the primary reason because is that people have forgotten to apply the questioning skills. How many people today really question the statements which have been made and trying to find the truth. There are certain statements on the board which can come, and you may believe with the fact, you may not believe with the fact, and facts are also can be manipulated. So even if they're facts, you need to understand the source of the information where the facts are coming in from, and who is trying to authorize that particular source. So when you go back, you can understand whether the source is a trusted source or a manipulated source. So the critical think really helps out to do that. I'll just give you one more scenario for you, because it again tries to apply a different thinking. So you witness a bank robbery, and you try to follow the perpetrator and down the alleyway, and he stops at an orphanage and gives away all the money what he has stopped. Now you have witnessed this entire episode. Now when you witness this entire episode, whether you go and report the man to police since he committed a crime, or you see that he's like a Robin Hood and leave him alone because you're doing a very, very important need. If you have 70 odd people who are attending this event, if I ask the same question, there are people who will say that I will go and report. I'll take a option A. There are people who can say that I can go for an option B. And it is a way you are trying to perceive the situation and try to apply your thinking. And in both the options, there is nothing wrong, nothing right. Both are right and wrong from their own perspective, from the way you are trying to think and look at it. So if there is a bank robbery which is happening, some people who are choosing option A, people will say, I will report to the police because bank has got the deposits of the people who are also coming from the small, medium and large families. A robbery could impact them. A robbery does not, even though he's giving away the money to the orphanage, it needs to be done with a good intent, but it should be done with a good way of generating the money rather than robbing. That would be their philosophy. Nothing wrong. Second group of people can also question and debate, stating that okay, we need to leave him alone because he has donated the money back. He has done it for a good purpose, and bank can have an insurance to reclaim that particular money. So every theory will have, but understand the truth. What motivated that person to rob that money? Understanding the truth will really help the people to understand the cause and relate it appropriately. So when you start thinking about that kind of a scenarios, when you start questioning yourself, I believe you will be able to generate a great critical thinking capabilities to a next level. So today, if you're trying to ask me what is happening in the IT industry, and the workplaces are so complexly changing, and people today, which I'm seeing today, because of the higher attrition rates within the IT world, people switch the companies. We keep on hiring the new employees all the time. And newly important hired employees need to have that critical thinking because they need to know why they are doing the work, what is the purpose behind the work, and they need to have the big picture. Today, if I give some work to the developer, they'll go blindly and develop that code, but they do not really understand where their code is getting plugged, how it is getting used, who is getting used. So having a big picture understanding is a very important element, the way you are trying to contribute to the overall cause. Like most skills, critical thinking is one of the area which can be definitely improved. And I don't say that this is like a born critical thinkers. People can generate these things with a proper philosophical approach and the kind of a steps which I'm going to talk about. So that is the reason we normally say that people say that critical thinking requires knowledge. I would say that people thinking requires a structured approach to apply thinking by asking the right questions. If you really define that entire process of the critical thinking, there are 5 steps. The first and important step is the inform and describe step. We'll look into each of the steps. The second step tries to advocate about the discover and explore, where you try to explore the different opportunities and the solutions. The third is all about the negotiate and cooperate. Fourth is test and revise. Fifth, and integrate and apply. In fact, a good critical thinkers apply all these 5 steps in a very, very computer pace of normal processing. If you typically ask from the inform and describe, whatever the work gets assigned to you, you need to have a clarity and that you need to obtain the clarification, seek clarifications. You need to ask, what are the important elements I need to know and aware of before I jump into my development? And from the context of my understanding, what I already know, And what is the overall information or the findings I already have with me? So seek the clarification, seek the evidences which supports your clarification, so that you have information which can be explained, which can be briefly understood. The second important stage advocates the thought is each of the issue which has been given to you or the problem which has been given to you, you need to understand the purpose behind the problem, and you need to understand what is the motivation for me to solve the problem. If the problem is solved, what the benefit they get. So you do the explorative way of asking the questions to the different stakeholders who have a direct impact on the problem. The third important stage of the process of the critical thinking is negotiate and cooperate. So in the way what you try to do is you try to engage with the different stakeholders and you try to understand their perspectives in mind, because critical thinking requires in your if you are a developer, you need to engage with the architect, designer, or the sponsor or the program manager and try to negotiate to make the decisions better. So you need to understand that why this particular statement problem is getting solved and how does it fit into the bigger context and how does it help in developing the next stages as well. So engaging in that discussion can help you to better your design and you know the purpose for which you are trying to build. And in the process, you may come out with a multiple and alternate options. You can choose the best options, keeping the context in mind. So when the multiple solutions are coming out, it's important that you understand what is the best solution I need to use. Testing out the different ideas or testing out different solutions requires constant revision and constant iteration. So it's a kind of test and revise is like an iterative way to reach to the stage of conclusion. So rather than jumping into the conclusions faster, you try a methodical approach to arrive at that. This will help you to apply your solutions and also articulate your solutions to the stakeholders better. So this entire process and journey of the critical thinking really motivates everyone to understand the overall journey, to apply in a very structured manner to solve the problems or understand the status of the issue before you jump into the conclusion. So the way you try to improve your critical thinking today for every one of us, I would say that uh, I would encourage people to read a lot of articles because you get to know about the old and new ideas which can combine together. You need to have the ability to continuously brainstorm on your ideas with the other network set of people or like-minded people and keep experiment. Proof of experiments can help you to validate with the results. When the results are validated, you will be able to appreciate the entire outcomes and discuss with the people of the similar kind of a nature so that you will be able to validate the direction what you're trying to take. And do not hesitate to be a different person, because today the game changers what I've told in the beginning of the call, they are the people who really took the shape of the market to the next level because they were able to think differently and they were able to take very very brave steps to achieve that objective. And always be open minded, try to invite ideas from your peers, try to invite the ideas from the people at your lower level also. Seeking the feedback is a very important way to improve your thinking to the next level. So feedback is an important construct, I would say, and feedback helps you to develop your critical thinking to a next level. And always seek ideas in such a way that to better the product and better the entire design process. So when you're trying to do that, you will be able to apply and try to look into the dimensions of the innovation, because the innovation tries to advocate the thought how you develop the solutions or you develop the next generation products or next generation designs which are more innovative in nature, which are more unique in nature, which is more novel in nature. Uniqueness, novelty is very important from the innovation angle. And that is only possible when people really apply the critical thinking to the great level by asking one important thing: why it need to be done this way, why not the other way, why it cannot be different. So keep on asking that why. In fact, there is a principle called 5 why principle. And 5 why principles, when you try to question anything with 5 whys, you will be able to come out with the answer which is more clear to you. And second important thing, which I always say, 5W1H principle, which is about who, what, where, when, why, and how. when you try to ask these questions surrounded by these 5W and 1H principles, you will be able to come out with a very good understanding of the problem what you're trying to solve. And this will constantly drive the reflection of your understanding of the problem or the issue and ability to scale up your thinking to the next level. And developing such kind of a thinking skills will be a very important drive what you need to carry. And do not hesitate to develop the wild thinking. Sometimes the thinkers who go beyond their level of scope and boundaries can come out with the solutions much simpler in nature. Today you see people who have taken the brave steps in starting like Oyo, Swiggy, or Bharat Pay. Probably you may have witnessed Shark Tank, which is a innovation challenges for the entrepreneurs, where they are trying to encourage entrepreneurs to come and speak about and raise funds for themselves. So this is all possible because the people who are able to utilize their intuitions and their knowledge combined together to visualize something which is not existing and they want to do something different. And that is only possible with the right level of triggers, and use that particular trigger points to improve your critical thinking capabilities. So generally, one of the best practices which a good critical thinkers does on their day-to-day functions, I would say that they just generally focus on the right and relevant information. They do not try to boggle down into the information which is not required. So you should see what is needed and focus on that. Asking the right questions is one of the important trait of the critical thinkers. And you need to separate the facts with opinions. Today, we try to combine the opinions and assumptions with the facts, and that dilute your entire decision process. So when you try to separate the facts from opinions and assumptions, you'll be able to qualify your statements better. In fact, there is a one thought I want to say, because whenever such kind of a incident happens across the world, like Russia invading Ukraine, suddenly you see the stock markets getting dropped. People get into the panic stage and try to sell out without any kind of a reason. But when you understand the reasons, you will try to control it. So today, you see such kind of a fluctuations into the market because of this. That's an indication that
Hey,
so critical thinkers can make a better decisions, and they will be able to set the priorities and able to learn and adapt to the situations to a great level. So adaptability is possible for the critical thinkers, while it is a challenge for the other people. So the characteristics, if you are trying to understand the bottom line, to become a good critical thinker, I would say that you should uh, have a well cultivated approach of a critical thinking by asking the right questions and formulating the questions in a right way. So I want to understand how many times you have asked the right questions to your faculty. How many times you have asked the right questions. It means if you have done a mini or major project, whoever is giving you a problem statement as part of the guide, how many times you asked and seeking clarifications. If you are doing that, fantastic, you are in the line of a good critical thinker to emerge. So gathering and assessing the right information is important, rather than believing some certain opinions and information which is coming to you as it is without having a filtration. So you should be applying the critical thinking filter to digest the information which is really truthful. So you need to understand the kind of a whether it is a knowledge driven information, or is it because of the influence because of which is coming in. In fact, we have witnessed in the past many social media posts influence our decisions, influence our purchases, influence our willingness to go to movies, because you are influenced by the reviews of others rather than you yourself going and watching the movie and making your own interpretation. We try to look at the reviews. I'm not denying that you should not look reviews, but do not believe the review completely. Make your own decision after watching. That's what I want to communicate. So similarly, in the every engagement which you try to do, also you need to have a ability to reason out. I'll tell you that many times the developers or testers, when they do certain things, we keep questioning them why you made this algorithmic choice, why you have not considered these boundary cases. If we start pushing their limits, they will be able to perform better. If we do not push their limits, they will not be able to perform better. So rather, understanding the motivation behind the question, people try to come out with the excuses. I didn't thought about it, it was working well in my machine. Such kind of things will come. So well reasoned conclusions and solutions will ensure that you are trying to meet your criteria and also meet the standard what is expected. So you need to differentiate. One important thing is differentiate the emotion and reason. So don't jump into conclusions or don't jump emotionally to the statements what you want to utter, rather than just try to see that you will be able to make a bigger impact of the reason in a right way. So reasoning is important. Emotions should not drive your decisions. It's a reason based facts should drive your decisions. So similarly, always be an open mind, because having an open mind is a way you can make a bigger impact in that entire journey of thought. And very, very few people are there who are open mind and available to seek the feedback. As a good leader, if you want to emerge, you need to continuously take the feedback from all angles, from all the kind of a people, and try to learn from others, and open to take suggestions and make a better decisions for the future. And when you try to do that decisions, you have an opportunity to do communicate about your decisions with right solutions with a rational. A critical thinker is a one who is able to say that I have a problem, and these problems I'm able to come out with five solutions. Out of these five solutions, I have keeping the merit and the context, I've rated this, and the rationale for my decision is because of this I'm making this decision. So very important that you start seeing the value of your entire journey and communication appropriately. So the problem certainty, that's a very important statement which I wanted to make. So finally, I want to communicate on the critical thinking side is dare to think outside the box, develop a sense of observation and curiosity, which is very, very important and critical. And once you do that continuously, you will be able to see that you'll be able to generate new and innovative solutions as part of your problem, and you will be able to share and communicate your ideas to others. And asking the relevant and pertinent and important questions is important. Today, I've seen many instances where we go and look at it now. There are many instances people ask questions which are not at all relevant in nature. Things which are not relevant will not help the cause. Even if the customer answers you that questions, it will not help you to make any kind of a decisions. So first of all, any questions when you're trying to ask, you understand that why I'm asking these questions. I'm seeking clarification, I'm seeking fact, I'm seeking information. What is the motivation if the response comes in? What I will do, how will I analyze this information, and what kind of uh, thinking I will apply, analysis I will apply, and I'll come out with the outcome. Such kind of a thinking is important when you're trying to develop and asking the right questions, because that will lead to the culture of argument or culture of debate or culture of brainstorming to formulate solutions and come out with the right information which need to be seek. So bottom line I want to say is critical thinkers always network with the like-minded people and try to keep on evolving their culture of thinking. So in nutshell, if I want to define what is critical thinking, it is a process of critical thinking. It's associated with accuracy, logic, depth, fairness, credibility, and intellectual clarity. The critical is all about trying to talk not only about questioning, but also trying to talk about the not believing the information which is coming to them, but trying to qualify that information is valid. They are trying to validate that information. They are trying to understand the fact behind that information, truth behind that information. And this is only possible if you generate that curiosity in each individual. That curiosity is the one important element in each individual which can find innovative solutions to the problems what is happening across the world. And many problems can be solved when you try to brainstorm and sit across the table to discuss and debate and derive it with the facts. So that is open about all the things associated with critical thinking, where I was trying to describe how critical thinking can really help in generating the culture of asking right and relevant questions and establishing the facts and evidences and understanding the truth behind every information which is coming to you, rather than believing as it is. And as I just trying to sum up the things, it's important that you try to build that heart of thinking culture with a Trivarta Dhandaniti, which allow you to take care of the all the important elements of good, bad, a good policy, bad policy, understand the economics part of it as well. Coming to the design thinking. Why design thinking? Today, if you're asking me any product which you use, it's used by the person. When the people use your services, when the people use your product, it's the human involvement plays an important role. When a human involvement element is playing an important role, that empathy part takes an important stage. All the human-centered problems today can be solved using the design thinking. So let us understand for the next 30-35 minutes on this. What is this design thinking? How does it can solve the problems? If I asked you the question that the lady who is getting boarded to the car, is the car well designed? What will be your answer? How can you communicate a story? How difficult for an old person or an old lady to get into the car? Just to get into the car, she need to climb up, turn around, take the seat. It's highly difficult. People with leg pain, people with knee pain, how they manage? So difficulty is quite high. This is a picture which has been taken on the London roads where the black taxis are very popular in nature. So design thinking started there and advocated there by the Royal College of Arts, and they've been pioneering this particular culture of design advocating all the way. I just wanted to bring certain important elements in the next part of the 30 minutes describing what is design thinking, what is the culture of the design thinking, what are the stages involved in the design thinking, and what are the tools and templates available for you to consume it further. So before I get into the design thinking, I just wanted to touch upon the difference between a scientist and a designer. So scientists, when they see the things, they say why, and the designer, when he dreams the things, why not? So that is a difference what John Bernard tries to define. The science tries to talk about why part, but the dreamers like designers, why not? And they come out with a new designs all the time, which we have never seen in the past. And today, design thinkers are required who can really develop and empathize the situations and make the things happen. If you try to differentiate between the heart and a design, uh, heart is always a point of view from a single individual person. It's a point of view by the way the heart is envisaged based on the kind of a painter who's trying to paint or sculptor who's trying to uh, create a new structure from his point of view. But a design is about a universal element which is conceptualized or viewed from the other's point of view. You're trying to solve a problem in the design and which is very specific to the users or the stakeholders who are using that particular system. And in the context of the heart is aesthetics followed and form follows the form, while in the context of the design the form follows the function because the outcome is more relevant and important. Say for instance, you all have a kind of a television at your home, right? When you're operating a television, you have a remote. How many types of remotes are available today? Why do you see the power button is always on the top? Why not on the bottom? Why do you see that but numbers are in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? Why not 4 by 4 or 5 by 5? You see, there is a lot of user experience design elements which went in to come out with the structure of the remote control, which is more handy. The shape of the shape, design, aesthetics, all these things which will come in because the form should follow the function. And it is trying to solve the problem to manage the function of operating the TV. Similarly, every object you take, the mobile, the laptop, or a table, or a chair, everything is all about a design to solve a particular problem. So it's a kind of a combinations where you have a divergent set of ideas coming together. Means when you're ideating to solve the problem, there are many ideas which can come in, and you need to synthesize it and then later converge to solve the problem. Design thinking is all about